Hello everyone. So we are finally at the end of the European football season, which culminated with the Men's Champions League final between Liverpool and Real Madrid in France. So this was the repeat of the 2018 Champions League final where Real beat Liverpool 3-1 to complete three successful Champions League wins, and they were back in the final after 4 seasons. Meanwhile, Liverpool were gunning for its second European title in 3 years, and also they had some revenge or payback in their minds, but unfortunately that's not how it panned out. Madrid nicked the game 1-0. Nicked is probably like a too harsh a word, but they had their game plan spot on and they got the win, and their 14th Champions League win. No other team can match up to the record. Aneesh, you were on the blog yesterday, so some of your thoughts on the game.
Yeah, so I believe, like expected, Liverpool started really strong, and we also spoke in our preview that Madrid does not have as strong a defensive duo like they did when they faced each other last time, and as expected, they let in 24 shots throughout the game. But Liverpool could not capitalize, and of course, Courtois with 9 saves, he created a Champions League record. And Liverpool could not capitalize, and Real Madrid, like we've seen this season, it was a classic Real Madrid sucker punch, and all it took was one counter attack, and Liverpool and Madrid won 1-0. So I think it was obviously it will be disappointing for Liverpool players considering they had so many chances, but I think it's all about taking your chances at the end. So I think it's a deserved win.
Yeah, and in the lead up to the game, everyone was pumped up for the game. We all stayed up late into the night, what's the final? 12:30 was the scheduled kickoff, but then we had a delay with some organizational mismanagement in France and Paris, where bunch of Liverpool fans or close to 22,000 fans couldn't make it into the venue on time, and the kickoff was postponed by 36 minutes. We could also see that Liverpool players and Real Madrid players who had gone into the arena, they have to come back again to warm up.
Yeah.
So do you think that could have played a part?
Well, personally speaking, I do not think that had much effect on the match. Obviously, from a fan's point of view or from the point of view of someone covering the match, it was a technical issue, and obviously it was not ideal. But I think both players, they had enough time to, again, they had warmed up for the second time, and I feel it did not really have an effect on the match per se. But we never know how it could have turned out, whether it could have been a psychological issue for any particular player also. But of course, considering there was some mismanagement also due to the issues, the match starting late, from the perspective of the fans, I feel it could have been managed better by the organizers.
From personal point of view, when match started, Liverpool, as we all know, at the start of the game they come out all guns blazing, but that wasn't the case in the first 10 minutes, and they only grew into the game after say 13 minutes when they started crowding Real Madrid or pinning them into their own box. That's when they had those flurry of chances with Courtois in the form of his life, probably his best game he could have had. He had a point to prove. At the end of the game, he said that that he wanted more respect from the people in England where he had spent time with Chelsea. Apparently, some magazine hadn't named him in the top 10 list, which I find it hard to believe because he was one of the top goalkeepers at that point in time, I feel. But after that spell where I think Liverpool had 3 or 4 chances, I think Madrid slowly shaded possession, because if you looked at the overall stats, it was 50-50 at the end of the day. It's not like Liverpool dominated the game. They had their moments, but then they didn't take their moments. But Madrid just needed one moment and then they seized it, which was brilliant, because that's what they've come to know. This is Champions League is Real Madrid's yard, I feel. 14 wins and 5 Champions League titles in 8 seasons, I'm thinking. And phenomenal record. So Courtois, as we spoke about, he was the star of the game, which proved helpful for Real Madrid's cause. But from Liverpool's point of view, it's harsh, but it's a one-off final. But who was a letdown in their side?
Well, if you talk about letdowns, I think I'd first like to talk about the goal they scored. If you see when Valverde made that run into the box, ultimately assisting Vinicius for the goal. He got in behind Trent a bit too easily, I feel, and I personally feel his positioning could have been better.
And that's something which like everyone talks about Trent, if he could like defensively match up in a big game.
Yeah, it's a common debate in England between Reece James and Trent. I mean, many say that Reece James has a better balance between his attacking prowess and his defensive ability. But yeah, if you talk about letdowns, I think one particular instance is that defensive error. Not exactly error. I do not take credit away from Madrid, but he could have done better.
Which was probably something which they had targeted, like since you know that this guy has a weakness, so that's something which they might have targeted and
exactly. And also, if you talk about letdowns, I mean, I think given Salah, he won the Golden Boot this season also, but I think his finishing, he lacked the finishing we have seen throughout the season, and the whole forward line, Salah, Mane, and Diaz. Mane, I mean, he came the closest technically. His shot was deflected onto the post by Courtois. But apart from that, I mean, I don't think, despite crowding Madrid's half or even their box, they did not really have any clear-cut opportunities. Because if you see, even when Benzema's goal was ruled out because of offside, I mean, that was the closest anyone had come to scoring. So, yeah, I think Liverpool's forward three was a bit disappointing.
I feel like between Mane and Salah, they had 6 chances where they got saves out of Courtois, and Salah had 5 shots against him. I felt like maybe because Salah hasn't been in the best of form in the run up to the final, and Mane who has been, so I felt like what if like we are like talking about but still. If Liverpool fans would also be like wondering the same, like if say Mane had gotten at the end of like 2 of the chances, maybe it blocks. But I still feel like the shot which Salah took around the 88th minute or something, where
I think 82nd.
Where Courtois pulled off his stunning saves. Like I don't think like even if Mane took that shot, I could have taken the same shot. But like you had to still go through Courtois on that night.
But Courtois was actually asked after the match, you made 9 saves, but do you have any favorite ones? He said that Mane saved early in the first half. He said that's my personal favorite because he actually said that it came due to a defensive error. So, but he was at full stretch, and even though he needed the help of the post, he actually got his glove to it, and when your defense kind of lets in 24 shots, I think it's not too unfair to get the help from the post as well. But that Salah save, I mean, everything preceding the goal was great. I mean, he took down the ball really well. Then the way he went past Mendy and he took the shot, but again Courtois was brilliant. So
and in the post match, like one of the things which was talked about was how Benzema's disallowed goal to be like the like a spur for Real Madrid, that that they could have a go at Liverpool in the second half. With a lot of confusion when that goal was disallowed, because when we were watching the game in the office, like for a moment like I forgot the offside rule. Thinking because Alisson had come out and he had 2 other outfield players behind him, so Benzema was not in line with the second last player, so that's why he was offside. If you had your doubts as well, still as like why that rule was disallowed, there's a copy on Sportstar. That could have been a turning point, you could say. And finally, we need to finish with a word on Carlo Ancelotti, the Don. He has now 4 Champions League titles as a manager, which no other manager has had before, and 2 as a player as well. And to think, he also won a La Liga title and a Spanish Super Cup. And to put this into perspective, this man was managing Everton this time last year. A club who was battling for to stay in the Premier League this year. But I don't know how Madrid managed to it's not rocket science leave behind Everton for Real Madrid. So he's now has 2 Champions League titles with Real Madrid. Both in his first seasons in charge, when he moved there. like, what do you think? Like, do you think like he sometimes goes under the radar with the likes of, say, Guardiola, Klopp, Tuchel, Conte? He's always left behind, I feel.
Well, I don't think he's under the radar. It's just that the style of football maybe Klopp and Guardiola make their teams play is probably a bit more fluid and flamboyant. And also I think two things. I mean, one, Ancelotti also said that when I left Everton, the fans were not happy, but I feel they're happy now. Yeah.
Yeah. For a good reason.
Yeah, for a good reason. And also I feel Madrid fans, from what I've seen on social media, I mean, of course, every manager faces criticism, but I feel Madrid fans, at least a lot of them, kind of an apology to Ancelotti, because he was criticized throughout the season for not rotating and not, rotating his players enough. But at the end of the day, titles define the team and a manager. So he won the La Liga and the Champions League. So
to finish it up, in the lead up to the final, in the pre-match interview, Klopp said that the final is going to be a case of comeback kings against the mentality monsters. But in the final, it seemed like a case of both Madrid imbibing those titles, not so much for the case of Liverpool, which I couldn't be more happy about, being a United fan. So yeah, it was a great night for me personally, and I could say the same for Aneesh as well. Not so much for a video producer. Yeah, so don't hate, guys, but still, it was a good fun night, and they will say. On a serious note though, Liverpool had a fantastic season. They played the maximum number of games possible. They were pushed to the limits. They fell agonizingly short in the Premier League by a point, and in the Champions League as well. And they ended up with 2 trophies, not so major, but still, you guys can be happy with League Cup and FA Cup. But Klopp has been defined in the post-match interview. He said that he's asked his fans to book the tickets for the Champions League final next year, which is in Istanbul, which they have happy memories of from 2005, and they will never stop talking about it as well. So this also brings the end of a fascinating European Premier League, European season. A lot of action, in the Premier League, especially in the Serie A, La Liga, not so much, but they had some really fantastic season, and especially the Champions League, we had some brilliant matches, especially with Real Madrid. They have beaten the best of the best to get to their 14th title. So all credit to them to finish the season on a fantastic note. And so this also brings the end of Sportstar's European football coverage for this year, I think. Yeah. And so we'll be back again, and keep following our website for the latest transfer news and more on football.